Now for something completely different. We're going urban. I'm delighted to introduce Hans, who's a real entrepreneur. He started out, would you believe, as a corporate hotelier, but he quickly shook that off. He was one of the co-founders of Citizen M, which, if you look at it now, you think it's mainstream in a way, but it was pretty radical back there to present affordable luxury in 15 square meter rooms. Actually, anything in 15 square meter rooms was considered quite odd there. He went on to found Zoku. You've got 4 assets now. Really interested to hear what your next proposition and what your ask is going to be for this audience.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ufi, for having me here. Can you put a presentation on screen? No? Yeah. So currently we invest billions in making buildings greener. Solar panels, HVAC, smart technology. And I think those kind of things are very important. And also the subjects that we discuss here today are fundamentally important to move forward. But at the same time, there's one issue, and I call it the big sustainability challenge no one talks about, that I want to address today. And this is basically built around underutilization of offices. So we never asked the questions, why do we use so little about the space we already have? And Mark, you mentioned the elephant in the room. This is another elephant in the room from my experience. It's a kind of sustainability blind spot. So let's do the math. According to research from CBRE, the office utilization at the moment is 38%. That means we all know the empty Fridays, the not so busy Mondays, but in the end of the day, it's just 38% of the capacity is used. But that is measured during a 40-hour work week period. If you extrapolate that to 168 hours, you end up with 9%, resulting in 91% unused capacity. Now, why utilization matters? Well, first of all, Mark pointed out the amazing investment which is into real estate, so it's a big part of it. Aviation contributes to 2.5 to 3% of CO2 emissions, but offices to 6 to 8% of CO2 emissions. So if 90% is unused, resulting in 6 to 8% CO2 emissions, then we have something that we may talk about as well. So a solution of this is not the solution, it's a solution that can contribute is to look differently at spaces. And now if you look to the world, I mean, our lifestyles became more fluid. I mean, we travel and work internationally, we work from home, and we do our shopping from the couch. But our real estate is very much siloed. So the way we approach real estate didn't follow this fluidity in our lifestyles. And over the last decades, fortunately, people started to work on this and they created mixed-use buildings. But mixed use is nothing different than different functions in a different part of the building. At the end of the day, it's still not a very efficient model. So where I believe that a lot of opportunities is creating a hybrid use. That you make buildings more relevant for more people during more moments of the week, and because of that you can reduce carbon emission per person. So often we think about those kind of innovative solutions, they're far-edged, but we've learned a lot over the last 8 years with Zoku. Now, Zoku is a new type of business hotel. It's a hybrid between a home and an office, also suitable for long stays, topped with hotel services and a social buzz of a thriving neighborhood. And currently, like Jonathan said, we got 4 in operation. Zoku Amsterdam was the first one. It's a leased mixed-use building, and it was actually a converted office space. Next thing, Zoku Copenhagen, new build, 160 keys. Zoku Vienna, 133 keys in Vienna. And last but not least, Zoku Paris. We have proven the model now in 4 European capitals. We've been profitable from day one, apart from COVID. We have the highest review scores in the industry and also the lowest standard deviation within those review scores. So very consistent brand. We're moving forward to grow Zoku into European capitals. And to share a little bit more about this hybrid use is that in every single hotel room or studio apartment worldwide, the bed is the most dominant piece of furniture. We switched that. We've been able to hide the bed and make the kitchen table paramount, and that's why we are far more flexible. So today, this same space can be used as a hotel room, as a service department, as a private office, and as a meeting room. Because during COVID, a lot of those tech companies came with us when there were lockdowns, offices were closed. Can we use this space during the day? And that's currently what we still can do today. With regards to the social spaces, the accent is on the S, on the social part. So everything has been created here to facilitate effortless connections between people. But there's also hybrid use in this space, because this is the welcome area, not a big reception desk, but a coffee bar, and this is a place where people can relax. But during the day, co-workers and members come in. They pay a monthly fee or a daily fee and co-work from this same space, which is used during evening and night times for relaxations. The living kitchen and food and beverage is very much important from the social part. Here we share bread, cheese and wine in these kind of areas, but also the place where people actually having meetings during the day. And this is another example of a hybrid space which is used as co-working space during the day, but they do ping pong and relaxation and smaller events during other periods. So what we've learned over the last 8 years is that we are able to stack different business models on the same square meter, resulting in, of course, the ESG advantage, but also being able to tap into a variety of revenue streams and also increase cash flow per square meter. Now, how will this solution evolve? Because what we currently see in the market is that hospitality becomes more important in offices, and a lot of hotels, they're experimenting with co-working and workspaces as well. And we have the same situation in Zoku, because nowadays there are companies that cancel their office leases because they say we work 1 or 2 days per week in the office anyway, so we would like to rent spaces with you and stay there for the rest of the week. We do a lot of team retreats and offsites where companies stay for longer periods. And I just saw the Mentimeter coming up. Well, that company rented our hotel for a full month in Vienna to do work from anywhere with their entire head office. So that means this world of fluidity becomes far more important. And our way forward is that we want to merge the hotel and the office model, because there's so much similarities over there. Hybrid work is here to stay. Of course, there are some return to office mandates, but at the end of the day, most people will work in some sort of hybrid. And what we want to do is we want to revolutionize real estate. So what happens now is that companies, they rent office space based on the maximum required capacity, for example, on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And the rest of the time, this space is basically sitting empty. We give companies the opportunity to rent space based on a base capacity, and throughout the moments of the week, they can add additional space. And we will introduce dynamic pricing in the office world in order to make sure that for some companies, they want to come on a Friday because it's much cheaper than on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And what happens then is at the end of the day, we have those ESG advantages, and we are able to increase utilization to around 55%, which has been validated by Colliers. Of course, 100% will be impossible, but it will be a huge improvement, and at the same time, it will create value again with a lot of stranded assets, office assets that will come to us. Now, just to round it off, a small picture of how this could work in practice. This is a prototype that we created, where everything basically comes together. On the ground floor, there are spaces that actually contribute to the building, whether it's a fitness, wellness, childcare, a small supermarket. And then if you enter in the hotel, there's a kind of an entrance which is not this typical office entrance, but a nice coffee bar where also the neighbors can come in and pick up their coffee, or a DHL package point. Then in this building, we create a lot of bump-in spaces where people can easily interact with each other, where we have daily rituals like Fika, which we have in Zoku. We give people free cakes and coffee at 2:30, and people mingle around the big tables. Then we have those hybrids, which can be used for all those different functions. But if the smaller meeting rooms are finished in the entire building, people can go here and they can use them as meeting space. And then, which is relatively new for Zoku, is adding those workspaces which we developed based on data from Leesman, where they researched 1 million people. What people want from their office and also their home office has been integrated here. And here can people actually are fully flexible throughout the week and even throughout the years. And then we go to the top floor, where meeting and event spaces are also there, but it's not a typical meeting and event space like we normally know, because I always say I prefer to meet in a party room than to party instead of a meeting room. Also multifunctional spaces with roof terraces and hybrid spaces and other social spaces as well, where people can interact. So there are a lot of spaces in this place where people actually can choose. Do you want to do deep focus work and do you need a quiet space? Do you want to be among people? You can do it. Simple food and beverage, more exclusive food and beverage. And of course, we think that these kind of buildings are also focused on well-being, creating a lot of green spaces, lots of daylight in the space, and that people can actually go out. Last but not least, there are some benefits from this building, either from an owner's perspective, a tenant's perspective, or a municipality perspective. And our idea is we want to grow Zoku in European capitals, and if there's any help, or people want to contribute to that and partner with us, please let me know. I'm here until 2 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Fantastic, Hans. As you can see, this is a real thing. It's proven, it's there. You can go to any of those locations and see it in operation. If I kick off with the question, what kind of building works for you? Because obviously, offices will still exist, corporate offices will still exist. What would work for you from a building perspective, in terms of location, in terms of the core building structure? You need certain floor ceiling heights to accommodate your mezzanine level beds in the bedrooms.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that, we see that companies, they want to reduce their footprint in offices, but at the same time, they're looking for better offices on great locations. So I think it's prime location, grade A offices, that's not our competition. What will happen, there are a lot of redundant office buildings coming to the market. They are already having difficulties to be leased out. And definitely good location, between 6,000 and 10,000 square meter gross. Ceiling height could be minimum of 2.60 meters. So we've developed.
It's not that high.
No, we developed different prototypes in order to be more flexible. Definitely well connected, but definitely I think most interesting are those buildings on a good location that really need to be invested in anyway.
Okay, so if you're taking a stranded asset, and this is the plea to all the owners of stranded assets, and by that, for anyone who doesn't understand, it's where there is a significant cost to dealing with the sustainability issues which we've got to put in place, and that cost is not necessarily going to be reflected back in the returns for the investment, and so you have that challenge. So how can you help that process?
Well, in any case, what we've learned based on our financial models, that in certain areas in cities with a certain rent level for offices, for investors, it's often important highest and best use. That term, we are able to create highest and best use. It really depends on the building, on the location, on the city. There are quite a lot of metrics involved. It doesn't work, like I said, for every building, but there are quite a lot of buildings that work, and I think Amsterdam is a great example. It used to be an office building from the 60s, and it's doing fantastic. It was sold 3 months after Zoku was open to Aberdeen Standard, so it basically proved the point there already.
Okay, do you have questions? Oh, we do have some questions. Approximately how much more is the development cost for the FF&E for creating this hybrid space than a single or mixed-use space?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on where you compare it with, of course, but with traditional hotel rooms, we are a little bit more expensive because we are kitchens included compared to other service department concepts. We are more or less in the same space, but actually the investment in multi-use spaces is not that dramatically higher. And to be very honest about it, we never envisioned when we started to really have to stack a co-working concept in the social space. It was basically came because it was flooded with people, and we said we need to manage this a little bit. And then the idea came there. We never thought about that our Zoku lofts would be used so intensively as meeting space or private offices, but that happened during COVID. So I think the interesting where we are today, we got 4 profitable locations. and we learned a lot along the way, and we were just able to adapt to changing market circumstances and really listen to our target audience.
Okay, in terms of the intensity of use, which you brought up there, how does that impact on the wear and tear in the building? Because I'm then thinking ahead in the life cycle and how often you need to renovate, how you manage that process.
Yeah, it depends, of course, and that's also from an investment point of view. You can make it very cheap, but then you need to renovate in 3 years. I mean, it's pretty intensely used. I must say that the technology that we ideally want to have is not there yet. It's being under development. We're talking to some partners. Because the model how hotels are approached is pretty conservative, because we sell rooms by the night. Ideally, I would love to be able to sell square meters per hour and also yield with those kind of square meters, and then really optimizing. And then I really trust with the search of AI, there will be a lot of opportunities there as well the next few years.
But are you where you've got the meeting space in the bedrooms, for instance?
Yeah.
Are you selling them by the day and then selling them by the night?
Well, the interesting thing is here, and because there might be some operational complexity in it, but we have a hotel in Vienna, and when the average rate in Vienna is around 120 euros. It's not a very high rate city. But what happens during big conferences, we sell this loft for 600 euros per night. So we basically choose, okay, where can we generate the most return? And if all the software is there, we're experimenting now on a smaller scale. The meeting takes until 5, then clean it up and make sure there's a late checkout possibility there. That only works if you're able to sell rooms by the hour, because if I check out, if checkout time is 11 o'clock, I check out always a quarter to 11 because there's no incentive for me. If I'm going to rent a hotel service by the hour, I might check out at 7 o'clock and just leave the room open, and then people can use it for another function. But of course, there are some challenges here. You cannot do this with the 160 rooms, but suppose that you can play with this for 20 to 30% of your rooms. Increase your ADR and your RevPAR substantially. That has a big impact for your entire hotel, because the general manager has been paid, the rent has been paid, most of the staff has been paid. So it's basically optimizing your business model.
Okay. I will come on to that question there, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about your model and what you're looking for from investors. So I know you've got some leases. You've got management contracts. What's the way forward for you? Yeah.
So our first 3 projects were leases. So Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Vienna, all long-term leases. But our preferred model to go forward is now with HMAs. And our first HMA is with Covivio in Paris. And that will be our key focus for the next few years.
Okay, and you mentioned Aberdeen Covivio, so you're clearly getting some institutional backing. Because I was going to ask the question, with this slightly different hybrid model, and thinking back to the early Citizen M days as well, where the traditional institutions got a bit scared by anything different.
Yeah.
You finding a way past that now?
Well, the funny thing, I'm used to pushback. I mean, I would love to share with you how much pushback I got on the idea of Citizen M, because nobody, a few people believed in it, and you need a few people to actually believe in it, because I challenge, and maybe somebody who's not agreeing with this vision, I really love to learn, because so far I've tested this model with a lot of experts in the field, with companies like Google and Miro, the co-founders from Spaces and WeWork. They all participated in the conversation, and everybody said there's nothing that we can say against the vision. You just need a few people who are prepared to invest in it as well. We've proven the model that I'm suggesting here, 70%, which is already existing. The 30%, which is adding workspaces, should not be that complicated, because we have more advantages than current co-working operators, because we can have synergies in resources and are always backup scenarios if it wouldn't work, but I'm absolutely convinced it will work.
Okay, so just picking up on this question, because we're clearly seeing a trend led by many of the larger corporates to try and encourage people back into the office. Is that going to have a material impact, or is that a different customer group?
So, I mean, we read, of course, the news. There will be more return to office mandates, but at the same time, then they're not sanctionized. I mean, I don't know a lot of companies who actually sanctionize when you're not 4 or 5 days on average in the office. This is not a concept for everybody. Like Citizen M is not for everybody, like Zoku is not for everybody. We don't intend to create something for everybody. But what we've learned is that the people actually stay with us, they work with us, We have now a company in Amsterdam, 30 people. They bring their entire company for 5 days to Amsterdam to be close to their clients. It works perfectly for them. So for those kind of forward-looking companies, remote companies, they've learned that we work fully remote, but every 6 weeks we need to come together and actually to meet, to have fun, and to connect as a team. I think that's what we are made for.
Okay, and I did ask you, well, you said don't quiz me too much on the detailed financials, but from what you've said, I think what is important is how are you driving more revenue and profit per square meter? Because ultimately, that's playing into your hybrid use. Yeah,
and to explain on that, Mark is my co-founder. He's the financial guy, so he knows more financial details.
He's not ducking it.
It's not trying to get rid of it. I mean, the model works. How we are increasing revenue, for example, is that it's not very common in the Netherlands, and I think many other countries as well, that locals are going to lunch and have dinner in hotels. I mean, most of the time, there are not a lot of locals here. 50% of our food and beverage revenue is actually made by locals, which is pretty exceptional. And with regards to the room revenue, we're always in the between 80 and 90% occupancy. What we struggle every now and then, we don't have the distribution power like the big American brands, and that's why our brand awareness is not that high. But at the same time, if you see how our properties are doing from a wider point of view, I think they're doing great. And we tap into, for example, we've defined that short stay is a very interesting segment for us, people who are staying between a few days and a few weeks. We are very good at that. Team retreats and company offsites where people stay for longer periods. So we're also looking to the most profitable business where we actually can create the highest perceived value for target audience.
Okay, the question...
I think if we can take this as the last one, I'm just getting the signal here. Thank you.
God, the time's gone from 5 to 2 without that. The type of investment, I mean, you talked about looking for HMAs, so if there's an ask here, it's people to bring their building and give you the opportunity?
That would be great. I mean, our key focus is now on London. We also want to do more in Paris than just one. But if anybody of you has an interesting building for you, I would love to talk to you.
And will you put some capital alongside your HMA to help the renovation? Because a lot of these stranded office buildings need a bit more creative thinking to make the numbers stack up.
Well, I mean, we're definitely into some sort of creative thinking. We even could participate for a small part in the real estate. I mean, just make sure that we are aligned, and we are definitely prepared to put some skin in the game.
Okay. Hans, thank you. It's a great concept.
Thank you.